let's talk about a skill that honestly is like having a superpower in your back pocket: effective communication. And no, I don't just mean being good at talking. It's a real craft, something you can actually learn and get better at. It's all about building a bridge so your message doesn't just get sent, it actually gets received. You know that feeling, right? You're in the middle of saying something you think is important, you're making your point, and you look at the other person and you can just see it. The lights are on, but nobody's home. It's like you're speaking a different language. It is one of the most frustrating things ever. Well, that whole thing, it's what we call the communication breakdown. It's this invisible wall that just springs up right in the middle of a conversation. But here's the good news. Once you see the wall, you can start taking it apart brick by brick. This right here, this gets to the absolute heart of the problem. We think that just because we said the words, we've communicated. But that's the illusion, right? There's this huge, invisible gap between what we say and what the other person actually hears and understands. That's the danger zone. So, how do we fix this? How do we close that gap? Well, and this might sound a little backward, the key to becoming a better communicator, it doesn't start with talking. It starts with listening. This is the bedrock, the foundation everything else is built on. And let's be super clear, hearing and listening are not the same thing. Not even close. Hearing is passive. It just happens. It's the sound of the traffic outside your window. But listening is an active choice. It's intentional. It takes focus, it takes skill, and it takes real effort. So how do we actually do it? It's really a three-step process. First, give them your full undivided attention. That means the phone goes away, the laptop closes, just for a minute. Second, you've got to show you're listening. Little things like nodding or saying back what you heard in your own words. And finally, you give thoughtful feedback. Ask good questions that show you're trying to understand, not just waiting for your turn to talk. And you know what really powers all of this is empathy. It's about more than just hearing the words. It's about trying to genuinely understand the feeling behind them. It's that effort to step into their shoes for a second and see things from their side of the street. That's how you build real connection. Okay, so once we've nailed that foundation of listening, now we can flip the script. Let's look at the other side of the coin, making sure that when we do speak, our own ideas land with clarity and with impact. Let's get into the art of expression. Now, get ready for this, because this chart is kind of a mind blower. Look at that. Only 7%, 7 of how people receive your message comes from the actual words you use. The other 93% is all body language and your tone of voice. That is just wild. It proves the old saying, how you say something is way more important than what you say. So what does that mean for our little 7%? It means our words have to be incredibly clear and do a lot of heavy lifting. The key is to keep it simple. No jargon, no fluff, just be direct. Get to the point quickly because you're respecting their time. And tell them upfront what you're trying to say. Don't make them guess. And a huge part of expressing yourself clearly is being assertive, which is totally different from being aggressive. See, assertiveness is about saying what you need, but in a way that respects the other person. Aggressiveness is about getting what you want by steamrolling them. One aims for mutual respect, the other just aims to win. Big difference. All right, so now we have our toolkit, right? We have empathetic listening and we have clear expression. So let's put it all into practice. Let's take these skills and apply them to a situation that, let's be honest, we all kind of dread. Yep, we're talking about giving constructive feedback. It can feel like walking through a minefield, can it? It's just so easy for that communication breakdown to happen. But if we use the right framework, we can turn what feels like a confrontation into a really productive and even positive conversation. Here's a super simple but really powerful way to do it. 3 steps. First, you start with a specific fact, not a feeling or a judgment. So instead of, "You're always late," you say, "I noticed you got in after 9 a.m. on Monday and Wednesday." See, it's just a fact. Second, you explain the impact. When that happens, we have to push back the team meeting. And third, and this is key, you make it a team effort. How can we work together to solve this? And really, that's the big idea that connects everything we've talked about today. In any conversation, whether you're listening or talking, the goal should never be to win. The goal is to build a bridge. It's to arrive at a place of shared understanding. When you get there, that's when you know you've truly communicated. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. What's one conversation you have coming up this week? It could be big, it could be small. How can you use some of these ideas to approach it just a little bit differently? To focus on understanding instead of just on winning? What will you change?